EFF Leader Julius Malema, who is outlining the party's election campaign. Let's listen in.
And empower the next generation of fighters for the battles ahead, including the crucial 2026 local government elections. As of today, out of the 224 sub-regions in the country, the EFF has successfully set up 184 sub-regional structures, which represent an 82% completion rate towards having structures across the nation. We must applaud the successful early launches of sub-regional people's assemblies in provinces such as Limpopo and Mpumalanga, because they stand as a testament to the disciplined execution of this mandate. This is an incredible achievement, considering it was the first attempt at establishing these structures, and all sub-regional people's assemblies convened without a single incident of violence or bloodshed, and were all independently funded by sub-regional interim leadership corps and commissars who were deployed in the sub-regions. The CCT wishes to further congratulate the following provinces for reaching 100% target, meaning they launched all their sub-regions successfully. The provinces are Limpopo, Free State, Mpumalanga, Gauteng, and Northwest. This must be commended, as it is an example of fulfilling the constitutional obligation in the EFF of completing a mandated task as expected. The CCT is further pleased with the patient work being done to build genuine and organic structures in the provinces of KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and Western Cape, which are areas where the EFF has shown great potential, particularly in the 2024 national government elections. Particularly, the work in KZN has shown us that there continues to exist an appetite for the organization in the province, and such work must not be rushed and manipulated for compliance purposes, as we witnessed ahead of the elections in 2024. It is on the foundation of strong organizational structures that the EFF will turn its electoral fortunes around in the 2026 local government elections. And we wish to salute all delegates, members, and ground forces who formed part of our structures from voting districts to a branch level for delivering successful people's assemblies. As the Central Command team reflected on the year, we made key observations on the successful organizational presence on the streets to demand the dignity of our people, but additionally on the qualitative contribution made in government. The EFF in Parliamentary caucus was an example of excellence for the EFF and has improved in leaps and bounds, as in each and every committee and all matters of national importance, the EFF was a leading figure. Our vigilance extended across all departments, including our robust engagements in the defense budget vote, where we demanded accountability for military spending and the welfare of veterans. The defeat of the value-added tax VAT increases, which were proposed by the Government of National Unity earlier this year through logical and superior logic debate by the EFF in the Standing Committee on Finance, the National Assembly, and ultimately the Western Cape High Court, remains a historical achievement for the organization. It was for the first time that the budget process was subjected to intense scrutiny, and first time that the budget process was subjected to intense scrutiny and revision. And National Treasury's neoliberal and austerity-based budgeting was confronted by the EFF, utilizing the money bill and relevant legislation to manipulate the South African people by making commitments which were not grounded in law. It took the EFF relentless effort in Parliament and through court actions to defeat taxation without consultation. To date, the commitment to provide alternative revenue generation mechanism by the GNU and its allies in the form of small political parties has not materialized, and instead, our people have been subjected to an increase in the fuel levy. The EFF will be vigilant in the 2026 budgeting process and will make sure we defend our people against aggressive taxation, austerity, and a budget that represents stagnant growth and does nothing to achieve unemployment. Cemented its place as an official opposition in Parliament on various critical matters of national importance, which includes exposing corruption in SITA board appointments and undermining the capture of the National Youth Development Agency by the proxies of the former liberation movement. Following the 2024 national government elections, wherein the ANC lost political power, it became clear that they wanted to substitute their losses of seats in Parliament by capturing state institutions for cadre deployment and looting. It was the EFF which stood in their way, ensuring that corrupt appointments in SITAs were reversed and ultimately leading to the resignation of the first Minister of Higher Education of the GNU, who was deployed by the ANC, meaning we determined the deployment protocol of the ANC. Further to this, we stood in the way of the capture of the NYDA by the children of the corrupt who had lined up fraudulent individuals to chair the NYDA and steal money meant for youth development. In the fight against crime, the EFF has been at the forefront of ensuring the executive does not hold itself accountable, while it is embedded in the corruption and capture of law enforcement agencies. Furthermore, due to a sustained EFF motion, the nation has now embarked on crucial public hearings to investigate and address the pervasive crisis of sexual rape and a stain that must blot our national consciousness. It cannot be that this sketch that saw more than 117,000 girls aged 10 to 19 give birth in a single year can be allowed to continue right under our noses and without any criminal repercussions. Support the work of the Madlanga Commission. It remains a mechanism established by the executive and led by the judiciary. The legislature is a separate arm of the state which has its own constitutional obligation to hold the executive accountable, and it cannot do so by relying on other arms of the state to do work which is within its jurisdiction. Through the EFF, the following committees have been established to investigate and subvert crime. The ad hoc committee to investigate allegations into the capture of law enforcement made by Lieutenant General Ntantla Mkhwanazi. The ad hoc committee to investigate senseless killings in the city of Cape Town. It was the EFF that further called for the establishment of an ad hoc committee to investigate extortion in South Africa, particularly in the Western Cape, Gauteng, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. This motion was defeated by the major political parties in the GNU, which govern these provinces either individually or through a provincial coalitions. Despite the disparate hopes by our naysayers, the EFF has not been implicated in any way, shape, or form in the capture of law enforcement agencies or in the undermining of state institutions for the purpose of crime or corruption. It is for this reason that we speak fearlessly and without favor against crime and are able to champion investigations into crime by legislative bodies who hold that mandate given to them by the electorate. We are building a movement conscious of the failure of the past revolutions. We reject the path of self-serving nationalist bourgeoisies whose party becomes a true instrument of power in the hands of the bourgeoisies that immobilizes the people. Our mission is and will always be different. We have introduced numerous pieces of legislation to eradicate corruption and the continued subjecting of our people and nation to debt and our people to indignity. Bills introduced by the EFF, including the South African Reserve Bill, the Insourcing Bill, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, the Liquor Amendment Bill, the Student Cancellation Bill, are all bills which have been introduced or reintroduced in Parliament in 2025 by the EFF. These legislative instruments are weapons we carry in the pursuit of our year of the picket lines and designed to directly answer the grievance of the poor, the workers, and the students that we stand with. These bills are all at an advanced stage and will secure our nation's fiscal policy from determination by foreign shareholding, which has no interest in our developmental needs. They will release our country from the corrupt tendering system practiced by the state institutions. The bills will put an end to the surrendering of our sovereignty to foreign financial institutions. They will put an end to the popularizing of alcohol through advertising, and they will finally put an end to sacrificing of students to crippling debt. The EFF has additionally exhibited superior performance in local government, where we have been able to secure positions of government within mayoral executives, particularly in the cities such as Johannesburg, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni, eThekwini, and Nelson Mandela Bay. We must commend the MMCs, as in Johannesburg we have seen a crackdown on crime, drug syndicates, and illegal occupation of buildings led by EFF MMC for public safety. Additionally, the EFF MMC for health in the city of Johannesburg has established the first state-of-the-art 24-hour clinic in the city, while leading important initiatives to promote primary health care and disease prevention. In Tshwane, the MMC of Environment and Agriculture has led a revival of the city, turning it into one of the cleanest cities in South Africa, from the township to the CBD. Our MMC of Health has rooted out shops which sell food, which is a threat to our people's lives, shut down brothels and outlets which abuses young women, and has led to the establishment of the new Lusaka clinic in Mamelodi, whose contribution has been delayed since 2017. In Ekurhuleni, our MMC for water leads responsive city, which saves millions of liters of water by fixing leakages, and has been leading in the commissioning of new water reservoirs in Ekurhuleni, as opposed to the 59 municipalities flagged by the Auditor General for spending 2.3 billion on water tankers. It was an EFF motion which led to a resolution by the City of Ekurhuleni Council to install 700 cleaners and 290 Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department officers, a motion which was allocated its rightful budget this year of 2025. In eThekwini municipality, the EFF chairperson of Human Settlements, Engineering and Transport portfolio has focused its attention at building houses for people who are displaced due to natural disasters and are living in unsafe areas, and has revitalized bridges in a city that continues to struggle with damaged infrastructure due to floods. It was the EFF in Nelson Mandela Bay Council that led by the EFF MMC for Budget and Treasury, who, following a declaration by the President, declared the debt of Ekupumleni Old Age Home in Sweden, which amounted to 3.3 million. The EFF continued to run clearance of debt of indigent communities in Nelson Mandela Bay. It was the EFF in the Buffalo City Metro which defended the vulnerable people whose homes were being demolished after they had built them using hard-earned money, and subsequently secured a court interdict to stop eviction, which were being done without providing an alternative accommodation for the residents. Our governance track record is one that will guide our 2026 local government election strategy, and at the center of this strategy will be the people and service delivery. The decision to dissolve the EFF Student Command and establish the EFF Youth Command has proven to be a correct decision by the Third National People's Assembly. And we now see the EFF Youth commanding a presence in communities and campuses. The dissolution has been able to maintain the strength of the EFF in universities and TVET colleges, with major victories in institutions such as the University of Witwatersrand, Durban University of Technology, Mangosuthu University of Technology, University of Venda, University of Limpopo, Walter Sisulu University, University of Pretoria, Cape Peninsula University of Technology, and many more across the country. In by-elections, the EFF has maintained a steady increase across the country as the EFF continues to contest even in areas where others will dare not consider to. The commitment by the EFF to not selectively contest by-elections based on narrow and divisive ethnic mobilization emphasizes our identity as a party with a national footprint, which is registering growth in an environment of fewer by-elections and low voter turnout. Electoral science shows us that the EFF is not only maintaining its base, but breaking new ground and gaining votes outside our traditional voter base and within the suburban and middle-class communities. Our desks, namely the EFF Gender-Based Violence Desk and the EFF Labour Desk, continue to be avenues where our people receive the necessary assistance when they fall victim to gender-based violence, failure by law enforcement to follow up on cases, and within regard to labor, the Labour Desk has become a place of refuge for workers. The EFF remains the only organization that holds the President of the Republic of South Africa accountable, while most of the political parties audition for a seat at the GNU table. The Pala matter, which was covered up using a parliamentary majority in an irrational manner that undermines the Constitution, is still at the Constitutional Court, a year after the EFF took it on review. This goes against the norms and standards of our courts, which dictate that judgments must be handed down within 3 months of a matter being heard. The EFF correctly led the Pala March to the Concord to demand the release of the judgment, and the continued delay justifies claims by those who say the judiciary is compromised and captured, and if the final arbiter allowed the President of the Republic to be above the law, then that will signal the end of our democracy. We congratulate the PCT of Gauteng for bringing out not less than 25,000 members to march against this matter, because without the masses on the ground, these victories will never be won. This was a first task of the sub-regional structures of the EFF in Gauteng to deliver the masses to the march against Pala, and this was successfully executed by the sub-regional structures of the EFF as a confirmation and a proof that this resolution is going to work for the organization. The 6th administration of Parliament has become an arena of excellence for the EFF. In 2026, we will intensify all efforts to ensure that the people of South Africa know that they did not waste their votes when they elected the EFF to represent them. We know our duties and our mandate in Parliament, and we will fulfill it to the best of our ability. Every action that we take is guided by our unwavering commitment to our 7 cardinal pillars, the revolutionary and living compass that has directed our struggle since our founding. The current GNU has failed to grow the economy and create jobs in successive quarters, and this is underlined by stagnant economic activities, the collapse of industrial capacity, and the entrenchment of mass unemployment. The economic growth for 2025 set at 0.5% across the 3 quarters, while more than 11 million of our people remain jobless. This is not an accident of history, nor a statistical anomaly. It is a deliberate outcome of a political arrangement whose purpose is to protect a colonial economic architecture while denying the black majority access to productive participation in the economy. This arrangement is what Fanon identified as the core blockage on the horizon. What matters today, the issues which blocks the horizon, is the need for a redistribution of wealth. The GNU exists to prevent this redistribution. The GNU is not a break from the past. It is a continuation of an agenda that predates the 2024 elections. Under the illusion of renewal, the GNU reaffirms the same neoliberal commitment that have suffocated our country for a decade. They've chosen austerity over industrialization, outsourcing over state capacity, privatization over developmental governance, and foreign dependency over domestic reliance. The result is predictable: stagnant growth, crumbling infrastructure, collapsing state-owned entities, and an economy defined by extraction without production. The GNU governs as though the working class is disposable. It has reversed the hard-won gains of labor and reduced economic dignity to a privilege reserved of the elites. Workers now face a cruel binary: accept wages that guarantee poverty or remain unemployed indefinitely. In either case, capital triumphs while communities suffocate. This is not development, it's structural exclusion. We are happy that the workers rejected the COSATU rally in Soweto, which was attended by the leadership of COSATU and the President of the Republic. The workers are beginning to reject COSATU, which became the biggest sellout of the workers since the formation of GNU. We say to the leadership of COSATU, you must be ashamed wherever you are, and you must listen to those silent voices of the workers who refuse to attend your anniversary because you have turned your back against them because you are looking for a seat in the GNU. The EFF recognizes that the GNU's failure is the logical conclusion of a system that is ripe for transformation. As Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels remind us, of all the classes that stand face to face with the bourgeoisie today, the proletariat alone is really the revolutionary class. It is this revolutionary class, the workers, the landless, the unemployed, that our party is organized to lead. There is no industrial policy, no serious program for localization, no commitment to build productive capacity, and no vision to mobilize domestic capital towards manufacturing, agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, energy, or rail. Instead, the GNU waits passively for foreign investors who will never industrialize this country, while the Public Investment Corporation, the largest allocator of capital on the continent, props up sectors owned by the white establishment. The state refuses to lead development because doing so threatens the interest of the few who designed these coalitions. Municipalities are collapsing because they are treated as trading companies rather than developmental institutions. Transnet, Eskom, DINEL, and SAA are being hollowed out. Infrastructure spending is insufficient to stimulate demand. Budgeting remains a ritual of austerity driven by ideological obedience rather than developmental logic. The GNU has tabled budgets that produce inequality, deepen unemployment, and suppress social mobility. Every opportunity to stimulate growth, expand public capacity, and ignite jobs creation has been ignored. By all developmental metrics, the GNU has failed. It has failed the poor, it has failed workers, it has failed the youth, and it has failed the nation. What we confront is not governance crisis alone. It is an ideological crisis rooted in a refusal to abandon colonial economic logic that protects the powerful at the expense of the dispossessed. The GNU cannot grow the economy because it has no developmental imagination, no structural capability, and no commitment to transforming ownership patterns. South Africa deserves leadership capable of building, not outsourcing, industrializing, not privatizing, empowering, not excluding. Only a developmental agenda anchored by the state can reverse the decline and restore dignity of our people. The EFF has taken note of the rise of the US imperialism and fascism under the Donald Trump administration, which is engaged in a war crimes against people democratically and domestically and internationally. The onslaught on the people of Venezuela for the sole and admitted purpose of taking over Venezuela's oil refineries, the manipulation of the electoral processes in numerous elections in Latin America, the disruptive role of Donald Trump in the Middle East, including threat to colonize the Gaza Strip after funding the genocide of Palestinians, has resulted in the EFF correctly characterizing Donald Trump as a reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. We recently condemned in the strongest terms the disgraceful and politically motivated decision by FIFA to award Donald Trump a so-called FIFA Peace Prize, an act which represents a direct violation of FIFA's own regulations and an endorsement of modern-day fascism. His attempt at unilaterally inviting and uninviting countries to the G20 simply because of his political interests further confirms the assessment that Donald Trump is the new Hitler that the world is faced with, and failure to recognize this reality will result in devastating consequences for the global political and economic order. The EFF reiterates its continued call for global solidarity against Donald Trump and his reckless policies, including trade, tariff, and foreign policy, which is underpinned by a desire for war and sustaining of an economic built on military strength and imperialism rather than economic cooperation. Our stance is rooted in our foundational Pan-Africanist ideology, which demands African unity and resistance to all forms of neocolonialism and imperialism. The continent, the diaspora, and the world should cease from presenting themselves as subjects at the Oval Office in order to pledge loyalty to fascists. The first sign of resistance to the fascism of Donald Trump will arise at the coming G20 meeting. And contrary to the over-diplomatic stance of the South African government, the EFF calls for a boycott of the G20 in Miami, Florida, if South Africa is not allowed as a founding member as a result of the declaration by Donald Trump. The world has defeated fascism through solidarity, and there is no diplomacy with fascism. We must unite now or perish. The EFF wishes the people of South Africa a blessed and happy festive season, which must be characterized by love for those who are less fortunate. During this festive season, let us keep in mind and in prayers those who continue to live under oppression and conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, in Sudan, in Ethiopia, and Palestine. Let us strengthen resistance as communities to gangsterism in the Cape Flats and to violence which has overcome our communities, leading to rampant murder, rape, and gender-based violence. The EFF calls on the people of South Africa to celebrate this festive season responsibly and avoiding drinking and driving and conflicts inspired by alcohol abuse. To fighters and ground forces, let us protect our communities and recover for the war to come in 2026. And that war will begin as soon as the year begins with Umtana Eskoleni campaign and the Sofunda Ngenkani campaign. Education is the future of our nation, our continent, and the EFF must be at the forefront of ensuring that no child is denied access to education because they cannot afford. We fully embrace the responsibility of our historical moment, determined as ever to fulfill the unyielding mission of our generation. Therefore, as we stare into the promise of a new year, we refuse to blink until we step closer to achieving the feat of economic freedom in our lifetime. Let us be safe as the task in 2026 to remove the corrupt and incompetent government in our municipalities is an urgent one. It demands that our fighters dare not fail in this revolutionary movement. This press conference constituted the formal organizational activities for the 2025, and this press statement is a statement of closure to a successful year. The last mission lies with our two members of the legislature in KwaZulu-Natal. they must support the motion of no confidence against the provincial coalition. The support for the motion of no confidence in KwaZulu-Natal is not a support for MK. It's a support against the neoliberal forces that came together to form a government against the wishes of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Whether we like it or not, the MKP got majority vote in KZN, and whether there is capacity in the MKP or not is none of our business. The people of KwaZulu-Natal love them the way they are. DA must never threaten us with protest as if we have no capacity to organize the counter-protest against them. When they passed a motion of no confidence in Gauteng against the Panyaza Lesufi government, we never organized protest. We allowed them to exercise their democratic right. They must never dare us, because we'll meet them toe for toe on the streets. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commander-in-Chief and President. We're now going to take the first round of questions from members of the media who are in the House. So I'll be taking the first round of 5 hands. Can I see the hands? You'll be number 1, you'll be number 2, you'll be number 3, you'll be number 4, you'll be number 5. Let's move swiftly. Number 1.
Good morning. Good afternoon. It's Alfara Mushwana here, a journalist at Eyewitness News. Mr. Malema, we saw at the White House that former President Donald Trump pulled out EFF footage as a reason to consider sanctions against South Africa. You are now describing him as a new Hitler. Are you not concerned that such statements could possibly provoke further hostility towards South Africa? And secondly, what do you think is the appropriate sanction that could be imposed to Duduzile Zuma Sambula, who is accused of luring men to the Russian front lines? Thank you.
Number 2.
No, thank you very much, President. My name is Lunga. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. President, I think you just took out the question that I had on the issue of KZN. Will you be mobilizing the ANC? Because you might be needing support from the ANC to actually remove Tamin Tuli as Premier. And the second question would be, what is your stance on the visit? I know the king of Abatembu, Talimpof, is one of the kings that you visited quite several times. What is your stance on his visit to Israel? And thirdly, we know about the court judgment against you that in the firearm case. If the court sanctions that you go to prison, is it something that you're going to challenge, or as a revolutionarist, would you be willing to go there to serve time? And on a lighter note, President, it's a closing of the year. Don't come for me, please. But it was very strange not to see you at the ad hoc committee when Sbia was there. Was there a reason of some sort that you didn't attend when Sbia was there? Thank you very much.
Number 3.
Good morning, leadership. We want to ask about G20. We noticed that we are the only black people in the room when it's lots of white people there in the G20. So I wanted you to unpack for us why we should support the G20, what it stands for, and if America is the biggest economy and it's rejecting you specifically, then does it not mean that it's not for us? Because the EFF pushes Africanist politics, and if G20 is rejecting you, then does that not mean that as a collective we should be rejecting them? Thank you.
Number 4. Alpha, you can switch off your mic.
Zinoko Mhlaba from Newsroom Africa. Just to add on the question of Trump and the US under the G20, you say you are calling for the boycott of the summit. What strategies or what practical steps do you think South African government should take in terms of supporting that boycott? And secondly, on the issue of King Dalindyebo, there's been a debate whether kingdoms or traditional leaders, should be involved in consolidating international policy, international relations policies. What's your take on how international relations policies are consolidated through various sectors, whether we're talking about government and traditional leadership? Thirdly, in terms of preparing for the local government elections, are you going to take any steps in terms of restructuring some of the provinces' structures that have not been doing well, but also KZN specifically? Are you happy with how the leadership there has done throughout the by-elections, but also the Eastern Cape? You're also mentioning that you're making inroads in suburban areas. Can you give us more specific strategies in terms of how you're going to infiltrate those communities further? Thank you.
Number 5.
Good afternoon. My name is Refilo Muchwari. I'm from Journal News. It's a newspaper in Free State, Northwest and Northern Cape. CIC, with regards to the preparations for the local government, what are your thoughts on new political parties that are being formed, particularly those that are break away from the EFF? For example, the Maibuye party. Do you think that this is going to, or this might reduce the EFF votes during elections? And my second question would be with regarding the ad hoc committee on Madlanga Commission. Do you have any kind of relationship with Ket Matlala? Thank you.
President.
Thank you very much. I hope I'll be audible from here. Look, the footage that is being played at the Oval Offices is being used to peddle lies about South Africa. And therefore, that cannot be used to persuade us to retreat from our stance, because there is nothing that we are saying which will strengthen the case for South Africa against Trump's position, which is very clear of isolating South Africa. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. The man has taken a decision to go against South Africa, not for what the EFF says, for the South African government position against Israel. Taking the Israeli government to International Court of Justice is what has offended the USA. The relationship of South Africa with China, with Russia, with Brazil and India, our participation in BRICS is what has offended the USA. So it doesn't matter whether the EFF video is played or not. That is actually trying to find a reason, because you have no other reason to attack South Africa and isolate it for its stance on Israel. So we don't think there is anything we have done or anything we have said that will worsen the situation between South Africa and Adolf Hitler of a modern day called Donald Trump. So it doesn't matter how many times you go to the Oval Office. Our president went there with his clowns to go and try and explain themselves, and it didn't work. The biggest clown of all of them is Kumbuzo Nchabeni, who came to me at the funeral of D.D. Mabuza, unprovoked, and said to me, no, after that Oval Office meeting, Trump has assured her that he's going to attend the G20. even Elon Musk, who's her friend, I don't know how they're friends, whether she was being boastful to me or what, for what purpose, I don't know, assured her that Trump is going to attend the G20. I'm talking here a minister of state security who has got no capacity to actually detect that there is no such a thing that is going to happen at the G20. So really, South Africa must just assume its position and concentrate on internal investment, beneficiation, grow our economy, while we are still trying to find other international trading partners. This is not going to end with Donald Trump as regime. Whoever says when Donald Trump leaves, this will change, it's not true. You know that Israel controls the USA. Whoever is going to come after Trump, he's going to be told that South Africa is hostile to Israel and therefore America has got no business with South Africa. So for as long as South Africa maintains its position against Israel, you must know that whatever happens, even if Trump dies tomorrow, we're still in a serious crisis for a very long time, and we need to prepare ourselves for this battle which is ahead and which needs to be confronted with determination and without fear. I don't know of any Dudu who's facing any charges of any arrest for taking people to Russia. I saw people opening cases against her. And I'm very conflicted because Dudu, anyway, she's my friend. So maybe SG should have responded to that one. So I just saw people line up going to a police station to open a case. And then I saw her also line up to open a case against another person and all of that. So as far as I'm concerned, SG, unless I'm wrong and I can be corrected, there are no charges against Dudu Zile for taking people to Russia. So let's not be ahead of ourselves. Let's allow the process to take its own course, and if she's charged, and if she's engaged in illegalities, the law must take its own course, and she must be held accountable if she has done that. But until then, let's not be driven by some excitement. Let's wait until we hear. I know she's in court for I see you, for tweeting I see you, I see you, I see you, July unrest, and then they said she incited the violence. And then they charge her for something she said after. So the violence takes place, and then they burn a truck or they steal chickens from a truck or a mall or something. Then she says after, I see you. Then they say that tweet incited the stealing of chicken. But by the time she said, I see you, the chicken was stolen. So I'm still to understand what really is going on there. You are unnecessarily going to make Dalimpof a hero out of a non-existing case. So that's my issue. But well, she's before courts, and she's going to answer to that. We support, I said, the motion of no confidence. You know, you need to differentiate between supporting a party and supporting a motion. So there is a motion on the table, irrespective of who put that motion. If the motion makes sense to the EFF, we'll support it. We supported a motion in Parliament of motion of no confidence against Zuma put by DA, which we have serious ideological differences with. But the motion at the time made sense, and we supported it. The motion in Gauteng didn't make sense. Panyaza has made blunders. Panyaza is not our favorite cup. If there was a way, we should have our own preferred premier as the EFF. But you're not going to use your issues with the ANC in Gauteng to destabilize government for political expediency. We're not going to allow that. And therefore, we refuse to align ourselves with that motion. We are an organization inspired by superior logic. It doesn't matter who you are. If you make sense, we'll agree with you. We're not petty like that. We're not kids. We're not girlish. We're not girls in high school. It doesn't matter how you agree or disagree with them. As long as you don't make you don't agree with them on something, you disagree on everything. That's not us. We're not boyish, who hold boyish differences and take them into a political arena where a logic must reign supreme. So in this case, the Secretary General has been assigned to go to KZN to make sure that motion succeed. And we call on MKP to call Jacob Zuma to come to those negotiations, because the problem with MKP is that you talk to them, you agree. It takes weeks to come back and execute because they are still looking for Jacob Zuma, who's nowhere to be found. So if they are serious about that motion, Zuma must be part of the negotiations. Right from tonight, is it tomorrow, tonight, over the weekend, we are going to speak even to the ANC people. And we will speak to the ANC if he's prepared to talk to us formally. But if he's not talking to us formally, nothing stops us from going to speak to ANC individual members of legislature to speak to their conscience and do what is in the best interest of the people of KZN. The ANC's argument is they've deployed fools everywhere. I mean, look at Dr. What is his name? Same name? Tlagaza of Ikurlane. The guy is inherently stupid. He's a fool. He doesn't even deserve to be a chairperson of a burial society, because December we're likely not to get our groceries or monies if that one becomes a chairperson of a burial society. A fool driven by its ego, testosterone, and all manner of things that are not political. But because we agreed that where a party has got the majority should provide that mayor, we can't dictate to the ANC who they must put because they've got the majority. And that is one of the ANC policies and principles, by the way. The MKP has got the majority in KZN. The people of KZN gave you a signal. Whether there is capacity in MKP or not, I'm really not interested. Maybe the people of KZN love them foolish like that. But who am I to determine what the people of KZN want? They've spoken what they want. They've given us the direction. And we ought to respect that if we respect democracy. So more than anything, that is what inspires us as the EFF. And if the MKP gets in government and become corrupt and mismanage government of KZN, we are there to hold them accountable, to fight with them like we're doing with the president of South Africa. We're doing with the Premier of Gauteng and everywhere else. In Gauteng, the people still gave the ANC more numbers at what, 36%. That's why they provided the Premier. MKP is not 36%, it's 45. 47%. It's not 36. It is democracy when 36 is ruling Gauteng. We allow that, but we refuse to allow democracy to rule KZN at 47%. That doesn't make us an MKP friends. We are not friends. Our relationship is still what it was yesterday, but we cannot go against the will of the people. At least respect the will of the people. It doesn't matter how much you disagree with those people in KZN. We'll continue to have a relationship with the royal family of Abatembu as a royal family recognized by our nation, by our people. Dalinja was politics as an individual, and if he's a member, is he a member? Did we check him on the system? If he's a member, he's no longer a member because he defined himself outside the organizational policy. He's not us who chased him away. If he's a member, he chased him away. So you have no business, none whatsoever, with being a member of the EFF. But do we require kings to be members of the EFF for us to have a relationship with the kingdom? No. Musizulu is not a member of the EFF. I was at his wedding. And if given opportunity, I will still go and meet with him. His membership is irrelevant because I have to respect and recognize the traditional leadership. As it were, actually, the kings should not be allowing themselves to join political parties. Because all of us belong to that royal house. So if I stand here and say we're fighting with Abatembu as a royal family and the kingdom, it means Vuyani will have to choose between the EFF and Abatembu. And we cannot do that because of an individual political action of a king who decided to be completely out of order. The king of Abatembu is not a politically amateur individual. He's a trained soldier. He's from exile. He's politically trained. He understands very well the problem between Israel and Palestine. For whatever reason, he decided to do what he did. We completely disagree with that. And therefore, in our membership system, we will never have an individual who side with Israel. Never, ever. Remember, we're still fighting now for Parliament to implement a motion of no confidence, a motion passed by Parliament to close the Israeli embassy. Till to date, Ramaphosa pretends to be fighting Israel's genocide, yet the embassy of Israel is still open against a parliamentary motion that has passed. They do a domestic work of pretending to go to court and all of that. The real action will be to close this Israel. We are fighting. Whether you like it or not, we are fighting. There is a war going on. America is leading the charge for our position on Israel. What more are you scared of? Close the embassy of Israel. We cannot share a territory. We cannot share our land with murderers. Must never allow that and then pretend in international platforms as if we are with the victims and the children and women of Palestine. So that's where we are. So you see me tomorrow Esbayin with Ndalinjab. Don't say, what is that thing they call us? Flip-flopping. Melengyatele. Kukumkan kahlele. Kukumkan. Because that's who we are. It doesn't matter how I feel about his political views. Don't get it twisted. So these ANC people who treat him badly because politically he doesn't agree with them, it's wrong. It shows political immaturity. Because whatever happens, recognize that kingdom and give it the respect it deserves. Some of the things he's doing, he's being pushed away because of the way he's being treated, but it's still it's not justifiable for what he did.
All right, live visuals there from the Winnie Madikizela Mandela House in Braamfontein, where EFF leader Julius Malema is briefing the media on a number of issues. Essentially, this is what he would term the almost wrap of the EFF's political activities for the year, going on to state or starting off with the EFF's victories or achievements, notably the VAT increase that we saw earlier in the year, also their spirited fight or challenge for the CETA board appointments, which ultimately led to the removal of the Higher Education Minister, Nobuhle Nkabana. And of course, in that Q&A, the US's hostility towards South Africa dominating most of those questions. The hostilities, of course, as many would have seen, now led to the US barring the country from participating in the G20 in 2026, with them having assumed the presidency.